frontal, parietal, occipital, sphenoid and ethmoidal bone.
Yeah.
These bones. The complicated bone is the temporal bone. We will take this bone next lesson. First, frontal bone. Here it is, frontal bone, os frontalis. Frontal bone, os frontalis. It's here. This one. From lateral view.
You can see the galvalia.
And from here. This one. Yes. It has main parts. It's air contained bone. It contains air chamber, frontal sinus inside.
Like here, right?
Like the cavity inside of this bone, frontal sinus. These paranasal sinuses, we have some of these paranasal sinuses. Sinuses of the frontal bone, sinus of the maxillary bone, maxilla, sinus of the sphenoid bone, this one, sphenoid bone, and cells in the ethmoid bones. The function of these sinuses, some. First, it's clean, it's make air which we inspirated more wet, clean and warm. Clear. Change condition of the air most suitable to the breathing. Next, these chambers work like the resonators while we talk. Resonators, it make our voice more bright, louder, and change the like the bass. It's not like the level, but like the more bright voice. I like this. See, I switch off resonators and my voice become other, more.
So it's like the body of the guitar.
Like, yeah, yes. like bass. Like,
It makes it like
vibration of this volume.
Yes,
Vibration
vibration
of this volume. Then, next, what the function? It's make our skull a little bit not so hard, like
Not so heavy.
lighter, not so heavy. Sorry, no, heavy. Antonym,
Light.
heavy and
light. Lighter. Make skull lighter. Thank you. Then it's also these cavities. There make isolations or they decrease fractions in our skull and isolated very sensitive structures like the nerves, some nerves, and the make suitable environment, not suitable, little bit specific environment for the pituitary gland, hypophysis. Pituitary gland, hypophysis located in here, is just above and behind the sphenoid sinus, and this is little bit colder for the pituitary gland than for the other inner structures of our head. What else? Due to these paranasal sinuses, we can make, for example, transsphenoid operations through the nasal cavity. We can reach through the sphenoid sinus to the pituitary gland, and different tumors, abnormalities the pituitary gland, which we can treat through these paranasal sinuses. You see, this we can say that all functions of these sinuses. Okay, but it's sinuses. Now we can talk about the frontal bone. Parts of the frontal bone. This one, squamous part. Yes, squamous part. Squamofrontalis.
Squamous is like in front.
It's this part. It's that part which goes to the calvari. And it, the other part is the orbital part. It's forming the superior wall of their eye socket. It's for the orbita, make superior wall to the orbita. Between the squamous part and orbital part, margin is the supraorbital margin. This one, supraorbital margin. This margin we can feel in our in the middle of the upper lip eyelid here. But we also have eyebrow, and this eyebrow, it's part of the squamous part, we can feel it. It's supraciliar arc. This one and this one. And the final, I start description, but first I should finish with the parts. Squamous part, orbital part, and nasal part. Nasal part, it goes into the nasal cavity and forming the superior anterior wall of nasal cavity. You see these parts, we choose this part not only because they form in different parts of our skull, different chambers, but also they developed from this ossification. It's related to these parts. Orbital parts ossificated from the points of ossification. In the orbital part, nasal part has their own points of ossification, and in the frontal tubes started the primary points of ossification of the calvaria.
So here it starts.
Here two pairs. First, this bone is paired. Then it fused together and become unpaired. But in the child's, we can see here suture between right and left squama, part of the squama, frontal squama, and we call this suture metopic suture. Metopic suture. Here is the metopic. Coronary this one.
The males, they had something different here, no?
Yes, in males usually there are supraciliar arcs more extend from them.
Protuberances more.
And protuberance.
So this is female.
Yes.
We can guess or not guess.
You see
we
this
can-
one more
Yes.
developed supraciliar arc,
So it's
this
a-
skull.
it's a
I think that it's male.
We can assume where the ossification points from the where the protuberances are in most
Not
cases.
in these calvaria bones,
Yes.
yes. In calvaria bones, it's this primary point ossification in the these protuberance, in the frontal tubes. Okay, we talk about the squamous part. Squama. You see, I divided this part, this bone into parts, and then I continue with the description of first, second, and third. Then we can say that squamous, it has external and internal surfaces. External surfaces is, you see, convex, and it has two frontal tubes. Between these frontal tubes, not between frontal tubes, then moving down, we can see here supraciliar arc, and between this arc we have this space, this one glabella. On the supraorbital margin, it has here supraorbital notch of foramen, and little bit laterally frontal notch or frontal foramen. It depends on situation. If this notch will be very deep, it can make the bony bridge and make foramen. Supraorbital foramen.
Where is the notch again?
This one little bit middle is supraciliar or supratrochlear notch,
Okay.
and here subfrontal, little bit laterally.
Okay.
This one is the notch.
This one is this foramen.
This foramen and
It's
this is the
frontal
notch.
foramen, and this one supraorbital notch, like this.
And what is this? Actually, never mind. It's just.
Wait.
Actually, what is this?
This one
Yes.
or this one?
Like.
These some accessory foramens. Some
okay.
accessory facility. We can say some foramens there goes for the vessels, and they haven't name. They haven't name.
Just.
It's anonymous foramen
Well-
or lutetial foramens, lutetial arteries maybe.
Okay.
We have some other foramens which are they are not constant foramen. Sometimes
Depends from the people.
Depends,
Different
like,
people.
yes, it's extra numerous foramens like this. So the supraorbital margin finished like the zygomatic process. From the upper part of this process started temporal line. This temporal line from this upper part of this zygomatic process, temporal line forming here the surface which we call temporal surface. This one, temporal line, separate temporal surface.
Against doctors, temporal line.
This one, from the zygomatic process upward started temporal line. Runs temporal line. Temporal process, and here zygomatic process, temporal line. You see, temporal line, it's part. You see, here this
Zygomatic
line is
process
more
is-
visible than another.
Yes.
And you
Oh,
see,
okay.
in this skull, Now, in the skull half, we have here temporal fossa. We have temporal fossa here.
Protuberance.
Temporal fossa. Under this temporal fossa, here we have infratemporal fossa. Temporal fossa for the temporalis muscle. Temporalis muscle move our inferior jaw. So temporal fossa. You see the surface. So due to this surface of the frontal bone we call temporal surface. Inside the frontal bone, you can see that it has some frontal crest. Frontal crest continue down to the circumforamen.
Okay.
It's better. We can see it's better while we have whole skull. Circumforamen. And this frontal crest, it goes upward, and you see it's split into two lines and forming the groove. This groove appeared from the superior sagittal sinus. Sinuses of the dura mater. Dura mater has spaces between these.
Dura arachnoid and pia.
Okay, I will
Wait,
show
superior
this sinus
sagittal
here.
what?
This one table. You see, the orange is the dura mater. This one, bones of the calvaria. No, I think that here is the parietal bone. And you see this vein. It's a very wide vein, and wall of these veins make from the dura mater. This triangular shape cross section of these veins, and due to this and this specific veins, we call sinuses or sinus in Latin translation.
Sinus from the heart.
Sinus. You see, I some video. I saw some video. In different videos, you see, even from one university, different teachers give different pronunciation of the terms. And I confused with this. If you know correct pronunciation, please check me, okay? Because for example, gyrus or gyrus
Or gyrus.
or gyrus,
Because in language,
three ways of
it
translation.
depends, because in Latin you have no J. You say gyrus or gyrus, and then
Gyrus. We say
yeah,
gyrus
but in English
Latin.
you say
Gyrus.
gyrus.
But gyrus or
Is in
gyrus.
English.
In
Gyrus
English,
is in English and gyrus is in Latin.
but gyrus it's not Latin, and it's not English. So,
Well, it
but
should be Latin.
I saw this in English speech. They use in English speech they use two variants,
I know that's weird.
gyrus or gyrus.
Gyrus.
So gyrus Latin, okay. It goes without saying it's gyrus. Latin
guess-
pronunciation and English.
Maybe they mixed it.
Maybe, I don't know. Like it's something middle between English and Latin
Latin,
pronunciation. So, if you
We
know
will check.
correct, you check my pronunciation. I will study. Thank you. So this one sinus, yes. Sinus it's in Latin, but sometimes I heard sinus in English.
Sinus and English. Yes.
So as you wish. This sagittal, superior sagittal sinus, superior sagittal sinus. It started from the frontal bone, continue to the parietal bone, and finishing in the occipital bone. This long vein will go across, move whole roof of the skull to the internal occipital protuberance, still there. So here we will see this sulcus, groove for superior sagittal sinus, groove for superior sagittal sinus. Okay. Then on the inner side of bones which connected to the brain, on all these bones, you see, we have the fingers stay, these impressions, digital impressions, and cerebral hug. It's between these impression enlargements on all bones which connected to the brain, connected to the brain. I mean this. You see, it's look like I touch with the fingers.
and how do you call
here,
them?
or here, you see? Digital impressions, digital impression. You see this? It will go on the upper part of the frontal bone, inner part, posterior part of the squamor, on the temporal, on the occipital, on the parietal, on all bones which almost all bones which connected to the brain, they has these digital impressions, and between them enlargements like the yuga cerebrale, we call this in Latin.
What do you call it?
Yuga cerebrale.
Yuga cerebrale.
This one. And digital impressions. So, this we can see on the squamous part and also on the orbital part. Orbital part, I continue with this. From the upper part, I finish, but between two paired orbital part, we have ethmoidal notch. Ethmoidal notch. It's related with the ethmoidal bone. Ethmoidal notch or the ethmoidal bone. Ethmoidal bone articulated with these margins of this ethmoidal notch. You see, understandable name. Then inferior surface of the orbital part. It's forming the upper wall of the eye socket, and here we have lacrimal gland, fossa for the lacrimal gland, fossa for the lacrimal gland in the lateral sides. Then this one in the middle side, close to the nasal part. This one trochlear fossa and trochlear spine in it. Trochlear fossa and sometimes trochlear spine. You see two different specimens, but each of these has this spine. You can feel it, touch. But in this skull we haven't. Here we have only trochlear notch. Trochlear notch. You see, we have here only notch. Sorry, notch. Fossa. Sorry. What not? Fossa. Trochlear fossa. Yes, trochlear fossa. It's like depression. And on these skulls we have trochlear. You see fossa, like depression, and trochlear spine. Enlargement in this fossa. Fossa, it's orbital part.
Okay, orbital.
This
This
notch,
No, чук-чук.
trochlear fossa and trochlear spine. Trochlear spine, fossa,
Trochlear
depression,
spike.
spine, enlargement, like a peak.
So trochlear
It's-
fossa is like here,
Lacrimal fossa.
lacrimal
Here.
fossa,
And
and
this one trochlear fossa and trochlear spine.
trochlear fossa and trochlear spike.
This one, you see,
Mhm.
in the,
Yeah,
in the fossa we have spine. This one trochlear fossa, and this one is the middle of this fossa, trochlear spine. You see, spine is it's not constant structure. Some persons have spine, other persons haven't. It also depends on the individual features. But you see, it always that person who haven't bony spine, they have cartilaginous spine. Clear? On this skull, we can't find it. But this similar structure, which consists of cartilage, it was in this body. So this spine, this fossa, it used for the to the origination of the superior oblique muscle of the which move our eyeball. Superior oblique muscle. It's fixed to this spine, to the trochlea, and change direction of its tendon. You will study this on the second course. Clear? Next. Orbital part. Orbital, nasal part. Here we have nasal spine. Nasal spine goes downward and make the nasal septum. Nasal septum. No, it participates in this formation of this nasal septum. And here we have the frontal aperture. You see, this one aperture of the frontal sinus. It goes to this sinus. Frontal sinus. Next, how to put this bone in correct position? Usually students want to put it like this.
No, like
Clear?
this.
Only this. It's unpaired bone, so it's very easy. We should make this superior wall of the eyeball and forehead.
How do you put this in correct position?
Next, okay, I will one by one describe. Then this bone, parietal bone, left parietal bone and right parietal bone. Together they forming the upper part of the skull. It's squared one. It has 4 angles, 4 margins, and 2 surfaces. External surface, you see, it's concave. internal convex. On the external surface, we can find, first of all, this parietal tube. Parietal tube, we can feel these tubes in our head. Parietal tubes. Then two lines, superior temporal line and inferior temporal line. These lines, you see, they make this, also, this bond make the temporal fossa, which I told about a little bit earlier. And these lines, this, for example, superior temporal line, is continuation of the temporal line of the frontal bone. Temporal line is these superior temporal and inferior temporal lines. Here muscle attached here, and here ligament, not ligament, fascia connected to these bones. Also, we have here parietal foramen. Parietal foramen. This parietal foramen goes through the bone, and it used for the emissary veins. Emissary veins. We have some foramens. It's accessory pathways to blood outflow from the inside skull to the outside. While we change our position, for example, we put down our head to the pillow. Relationship between vessels outside, inside change, and some accessory veins, this venous blood, find or looking for, and so we use these accessory foramens, emissary foramens, for the emissary veins. This foramen we call parietal foramen. Parietal foramen. Inside, we can see here continuation of the groove of the superior sagittal sinus. Here, groove for superior sagittal sinus. Here, groove for the sigmoid sinus, groove for sigmoid sinus, and this one groove for the middle meningeal artery. Groove for the middle meningeal artery. Middle meningeal artery goes through the sphenoid bone and closely connected to the parietal bone, and here we can see this groove.
Groove for the muscles, the groove for muscles.
Groove for muscles, we don't have groove for
So
muscles,
for,
we have lines.
Okay.
Superior and inferior temporal lines. This for muscles and fascia.
Okay.
Then, what else? Angles. Angles and margins. This frontal angle. This one occipital angle. This one sphenoid. Sphenoid angle is articulated with the sphenoid bone. And this angle is mastoid. It's this one articulated with the mastoid process, with the mastoid part of the temporal bone. Margins. This one frontal margin, this one sagittal margin to the sagittal, mid-sagittal line, this one occipital margin, and this one squamous margin. You see a specific shape of the temporal bone, squamous, this squamous part, you see it's forming like the, it looks like the shell, like the shell, and you see it's forming this type of connection, this type of connection. So this one, and all the other margins, they look like the peaks, like the dents, serratus margin, serratus sutures. And this suture we will call squamous suture. You see, different types. So how to recognize it's right or left, what is anterior, what is posterior? First of all, we should pay attention for the margins. That margins, which squamous, should be dark. We put it dark. Then we look at the angles.
Yeah.
One angle sharp, other flat. Yes? See this difference? This angle is sharp, it's anterior. Anterior. This one's sphenoid angle. I mean related to this squamous margin. So this left, this anterior margin. So according to the convex and concave part, I can decide that this is a left.
Yeah.
Clear? Then I should turn it on this degree, no, not degree. If I will put straight, I can't make head. It should be like this. Clear? So sphenoid bone. Oh, right. Occipital. This one occipital bone. You can take it. Let's make the posterior cranial fossa from this side, back side of the head, and external skull base too. It's divided into 4 parts, which surrounded the magnum foramen. Magnum foramen. Which parts? This part is the clivus, basilar part. Basilar part. These 2 parts are lateral parts. Lateral parts. This one, squamous part. Again, squamous part, 2 lateral parts, and the basilar part. In the basilar part, we can see the superior side. This one, clivus. Clivus. From the inferior side, we can see this tubercle. This tubercle is the pharyngeal tubercle. Pharynx. That part, which is another pharynx, there it has some connective tissue which holds the walls of the nasopharynx, and it fixed to this pharyngeal tubercle. Pharyngeal tubercle. Then, from these sides near the clivus, while these bones connected to each other in the whole skull, they have this groove. See this groove. Here, we have the inferior petrosal sinus. Inferior petrosal sinus. This inferior petrosal sinus, groove for the inferior petrosal sinus, you will see here. It's not good developed, not good seen here, not very good visible. Yes.
Where is it again?
It's here.
Okay.
On the sides. On the sides. You see, this groove. So you see, we'll take all other parts. This groove, it's like the margins of this clivus from the inner side. What else? The next part is the lateral parts. Lateral parts. Outside, we can see here occipital condyle. Occipital condyle. Occipital condyle behind condyle fossa. Condyle fossa. And in this fossa, on real skull, we can find condyle canal.
With the atlas.
Condyle canal, you see? This canal started in this fossa. This canal also for the emissary veins. For the emissary veins. Then in the top of the condyles, we have hypoglossal canal. Hypoglossal canal. This canal is used for the hypoglossal nerve, some arteries, small branches, and veins. Hypoglossal canal, but mostly for the hypoglossal nerve. It's constant structure here. Hypoglossal canal. Then on the margins of the lateral parts, we can see this process. This one, jugular process. Jugular process. And from the middle side of this jugular process, we have jugular notch. Jugular notch and jugular process. You see, while we combine 2 bones, temporal and occipital, you see this notch, and the similar name, jugular notch of the temporal bone, will make jugular foramen. Jugular foramen. In the whole skull, we will find jugular foramen. Jugular notch, jugular process. This one, sigmoid sinus, groove for sigmoid sinus, groove for sigmoid sinus. You see, it's surrounded the jugular process. Finish with this. Last part, squamous part. Internal side, external side, internal surface. Here we have cruciform eminence. Cruciform eminence. It's look like the cross section. Cross
Cross-section.
Cross section is section. It's cross. Cruciform eminence. Yes, cruciform eminence. It has like the 4 branches. In the middle, internal occipital protuberance. In middle, internal occipital protuberance. We can't. It's inside. It's inside. Internal occipital protuberance. From this protuberance downward to the magnum foramen, we have internal occipital crest. Internal occipital crest. To the lateral sides, groove for the transverse sinus. Groove for the transverse sinus. Upward, groove for the superior sagittal sinus. Continuation of the sinus in the parietal bones and frontal. Outside, we have external occipital protuberance that we can
this
feel.
one, okay.
This one we can feel. External occipital protuberance. From this protuberance downward, we have external occipital crest.
External.
You see, this crest and this crest, they look like similar. For this crest, fixed cerebelli attached here, it's structure of a durameter, and to this crest, it inserted fixed nuchal ligament. It's ligament which yes, in the back. We will study this ligament while we will study joints and ligaments of the vertebral column. From this crest, you see the three pair lines. This one, superior nuchal line, this one, inferior nuchal line, and this one, supreme nuchal line. All these lines used for the places of the origination or insertion of the muscles. This one, back muscles, this one, muscle of the skull. Clear? We finish. Next is this sphenoid bone. Sphenoid bone. It's one of the complicated bone of the skull. It's located in the middle of the skull. Its upper part forming the middle and anterior cranial fossas. Lateral part, it goes into the temporal and infratemporal fossas. Intertemporal and infratemporal fossas. Anterior part of this bone, you see, it's oriented, goes to the nasal cavity, and this part to the orbiter, and to the nasal cavity. This part, it's also goes to the this part, this one, to the nasal cavity, and it's also forming the external skull base. External skull base. This bone has parts: body, greater wings, lesser wings, and pterygoid process. So it looks like the butterfly, these legs. The body, first, the body. On the some surfaces, superior, anterior, inferior, posterior, lateral. It's like the cube. Superior part of the surface. Here we have sella turcica. It's translated as like the Turkish saddle. Sella turcica. It has dorsum, sella, tubercle sella, and hypophyseal fossa. Hypophyseal fossa for the pituitary gland. You see, here we have posterior clinoid process, and here anterior clinoid process, like the back side of the lesser wings. Between these and these processes and this line, we have the diaphragma cella. It's from the durameter. You will study this later in the second course. But now, you see, I describe what these structures form. Then, tubercle cell. In front this tubercle, we have this groove, prechiasmatic groove. It's for the optic chiasm. Then, this continuation of the body, you see, it's articulated with the ethmoidal bone. This middle part. Anterior surface of the body, it has sphenoid crest and sphenoid rostrum sphenoidale. Sphenoid rostrum, it's enlarged here. It participates in the nasal septum. It's formation of the nasal septum. And it's also, this one is the air bone, I told about this. And you see this one concha, which a little bit, sphenoid concha, which like close a little bit this sinus. And here we have this sphenoid aperture. Inferior part, it goes into the nasal cavity, and it's articulated with the bone which we call vomer. You see? This one vomer. And you see here we have some processes and grooves to the connection with this wormer on the inferior side. Some connection. Posterior side, posterior wall of this sphenoid bone, forming the synostosis, bony connection, bony articulation with the clivus. And you see, dorsum cell continue into the clivus, and brain stem attached to this part. Next, wings, greater wings. Greater wings, they have some surfaces. This surface related to the brain cerebral surface. This surface which goes to the eye socket, to the orbital surface. Clear? Orbital surface. This surface which turn to the temporal fossa, temporal surface. You see on this surface finish with this crest. This one, infratemporal crest. Infratemporal crest separate this horizontal directed infratemporal surface. Infratemporal surface. This one. And finally, this small, which runs to, which related to the maxillary bone. We call it maxillary surface. Clear? This small maxillary surface. You see, it goes between the temporal, orbital, and pterygoid process.
And where
This
is
one.
again the maxillary bone articulated?
Maxillary bone, it's not articulated. It's
No, like
turned to the maxillary bone. This
the
one.
surface. Okay.
Maxillary bone. No, it's sorry. It's like this, connected here. So this surface is the maxillary surface. Then on these greater wings we have three foramens: rotundum foramen, ovale foramen, rotundum. It's from Latin, but it's used in the English. We translate it like the round, but it's rotundum foramen. Ovale foramen, it's due to shape, oval shape, but ovale foramen from Latin term. And this one, spinosum foramen, small one. Behind the spinosum foramen, on the lower part, on the inferior part, we have the sphenoid spine. You see this spine, sphenoid spine. This spine is used to the ligament, sphenomandibular ligament, fixed to the spine. Also, to the posterior side of the greater wings here, these fix the auditory. Sorry, wait. Auditory tube fixed, cartilage part of the auditory tube fixed to this posterior side of the greater wings. Then greater wings. Next, lesser wings. This one, lesser wing, it has superior to inferior surface. It finished from the back side with the clinoid process. In the base of these wings, we have optic canal. Optic canal is used for the optic nerve and ophthalmic artery. Here we have the superior orbital fissure. You see, it's located between between lesser and greater wings, between this and this. Superior orbital fissure, this one. Optic canal and superior orbital fissure. This fissure is a big structure. It's used for the vessels, for the nerves, like the third, fourth branch of the fifth pair of the cranial nerves, oculomotor, trochlear nerve, and ophthalmic nerve from the trigeminal nerve. These nerves go through the fissure, superior orbital fissure. Also veins and vessels and fatty tissue for this fissure. But from the both sides, between body and greater wings, here we have groove for the carotid artery. Groove for carotid artery. here. This one. This one. Groove for the carotid artery from both sides of the body. No,
Again.
And from the front.
groove for the carotid artery. Groove for carotid artery. While carotid artery comes into the skull, it goes through the cavernosum sinus close to the sella turcica from both sides of it. Okay. Then pterygoid process. This one, pterygoid process. Pterygoid process, it has two lamina, middle and lateral. Middle lamina forming the lateral wall of the nasal cavity. Medial lamina forming the lateral wall of the nasal cavity. Okay. Lateral forming the middle wall of the infratemporal fossa. Clear? Between these, on the, you see, on separate bone, we have this pterygoid notch. Pterygoid notch here. Pterygoid notch. It's absent here. It full with the other bone. This pterygoid notch is full with the articulated with the pyramidal process of the palatin bone, and we can see on the separate bone we see this notch. On the end of the middle plate, we can see the pterygoid hook, optic humerus pterygoid hook. The tendon of the tensor palatine muscle fixed to this hook and change direction of the fibers. Then, what else? Between middle and lateral plates, we have here pterygoid fossa. But on the anterior side, which related to the palatin bone, to the nasal cavity, we have greater palatinous groove. It's groove. This groove will make canal like this. You see? Here canal. But on the separate bone, we have this greater palatinous groove. For the greater palatinous nerve, for the palatinous descending artery, for the similar veins, like this. And in the top of the pterygoid process, we have pterygoid canal. Pterygoid canal with the for the nerve, which we call nerve of the pterygoid canal. Greater pterygoid, greater petrosal nerve, and nerve from the sympathetic nervous system. They pass through this canal, and also some vessels, arteries and veins. Clear? Finally, this. And this one, the last one, and we again meet frontal bone. This ethmoidal bone, it's located between two orbiter. It goes into the anterior cranial fossa and into the nasal cavity. It's articulated with the frontal bones from these sides, lacrimal bones here, maxillary bone here, and sphenoid bone here from the back side. If we will talk about general construction of this bone, I can say that this bone, could I make a scheme? It's good for me, small place. It's enough. You see, in general, it has horizontal plate, which we call cribriform plate. It has a lot of small foramens. You see? Cribriform plate. I will show cross section. This one foramens. This one.
Yeah.
Horizontal direction, it's cribriform plate. Then from this plate downward goes perpendicular plate. This one, perpendicular plate. Perpendicular plate separate right and left parts of the nasal cavity. Oh, it's participate in the nasal septum formation. Then, from the sides of this cribriform plate, we have these ethmoidal labyrinths. This mass we call ethmoidal labyrinths. Then consist of small chambers, cells, ethmoidal cells. On the top of the cribriform plate, we have crista galli. lateral surface of these labyrinths, which make the middle wall of the eye socket, we call orbital plate. This one, orbital plate. Orbital plate. You see, this one, inner part, goes to the nasal cavity. So this one, you see, it's shell-like structure. It's turned to the nasal cavity, and we call it middle nasal concha or concha. Two types of spelling or pronunciation. Middle nasal concha. Middle. If we have middle, we should have some other. Superior, for example, inferior, middle or lateral, like this. In nasal cavity, we have superior nasal concha and inferior nasal concha. Inferior is a separate bone of the visceral skull. But superior, it is here. It's here. It's very small concha, which located mostly from the back side of the ethmoidal bone, in the back side of the ethmoidal bone. And while they make this bone, they make very thick plates, and we even can't see this. You see, what they did. They make plastic like this, and now we can see this canal.
What is the game?
I will see. I put my point into the canal.
But you can enter there.
You see, they make like this canal. Yes. I put my point into. No, but I make this from this side. You see, this one middle nasal concha. This one superior one. This one superior one. But these concha should be very thin and separate. They make the common structure from this plastic. And you see, if we will put point into this canal, we will say this, we will call this structure. If we turn our point to the middle direction, we will show this concha, clear? And we will call this one superior nasal meatus, and this one superior nasal concha, or concha. Or this one middle nasal meatus, and this one is the middle nasal concha. In Latin, concha. Concha. H. Ha. And it's CH. So
Yes.
we can read concha. Sometimes I heard this. But from Latin, it's maybe like the Clear? So this one, the ethmoidal bone. Welcome. Questions? Do you have any questions about this?